The roof of a hospital in northeast Tennessee last night as water rapidly flooded that facility. Helene is now a post-tropical cyclone. America's listening to Fox News.
Another update from your local news source, 92.7 and 98.5 WGND, the talk of Delmarva.
After spending Friday morning in Pennsylvania, President Biden arrived in Rehoboth Beach just after 3:30 Friday afternoon. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the Talk of Delmarva. Because of the inclement weather, it was a motorcade ride down Route 1 to reach Rehoboth Beach. The President and First Lady will be in town until Sunday night, leaving around 8 p.m. However, while he is in town this morning, President Biden will deliver virtual remarks at the NABTU Tradeswomen Build Nations Conference. He will also be receiving regular updates on the latest developments at the Middle East and has urged all U.S. embassies in the region to take protective measures as appropriate. Crews and support personnel from Delmarva Power arrived in Georgia on Thursday to assist Georgia Power with expected impacts from Hurricane Helene as the storm moved through the south. Delmarva Power sent 32 line workers and 6 additional personnel from Fleet Safety and Supervision. Crews from sister Exelon Utilities, Pepco, and BGE also are in Georgia to assist. They are all part of a mutual assistance network that ensures power companies can help each other in times of need. A Dover man has been arrested on drug and traffic-related offenses following a traffic stop Tuesday in Felton. Felton police stopped the vehicle driven by 31-year-old Pierre Foreman of Dover for a traffic violation. Further investigation showed that Foreman had no insurance on the vehicle. A search of the vehicle turned up over 380 grams of suspected marijuana, and Foreman was arrested and charged with a variety of drug offenses. He was arraigned and released on a $9,500 unsecured bail. The 36th Seagull Century Bike Ride is taking place today throughout Wycomico, Worcester, and Somerset counties. The ride ends at Salisbury University, and all riders should be off the roads by about 5:30 this evening.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Mostly cloudy, breezy, and muggy all the way into the overnight. The low tonight at 65 to 69 degrees. For Sunday, mostly cloudy, breezy, and humid. Chance for a stray shower with a high 76 to 84. Monday, mostly cloudy, breezy, and humid. Maybe a couple of showers and a high 71 to 76. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Reverse mortgage facts. Turn your home's value into cash. Proceeds are tax-free. Never have to make a monthly mortgage payment. Retain ownership of your home. Use reverse mortgage to pay off current mortgages and pay for other financial expenses. Still leave the home to your heirs, and you must be at least 62 years of age. Call Jim Fritz of All-American Mortgage, serving Delaware and Maryland. To find out more, receive a personalized proposal. Call Jim 302-245-2327.
The Worcester County Chamber of Commerce and Ocean Pines invites Eastern Shore Middle School students to test their civics knowledge and compete for the national title in the 2025 National Civics Bee. Students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades from public, private, charter, and homeschool are invited to take part in the first-round civics essay competition. The Worcester County Chamber of Commerce and Ocean Pines will host the local competition in the spring of 2025. The application to enter opens this fall. For more information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Good afternoon, Delmarva. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice with Julianne Murray. I am live in studio. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tipping the Scales of Justice, this is a weekly show on Saturdays between 12 and 2 that is hosted by yours truly. I am a Delaware attorney that gives up a couple of hours to take your legal questions. This is your opportunity to get the answer to that legal question that's been on your mind. Don't be shy if you have a question. I promise I won't bite. I can almost guarantee that if you have a question, somebody else has that same question. So you're helping yourself and somebody else by calling in. What are the numbers? 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also watch me live on IndustryNewsOnline.com, and you can submit questions electronically on this site. For you regulars out there, you know that every time I do this show, we do this thing called disclaimers. These disclaimers are in everybody's best interest so that there's no confusion about how we do things here on the show. Here we go.
If you ask your question to Tipping the Scales of Justice, you are not establishing an attorney-client relationship. This show is designed to be a public service where general legal questions can be answered. You may be asked specific questions so that the attorneys can better answer your question, but that does not mean they have become your attorney. Please be mindful that we are trying to get as many callers as possible, so please limit yourself to one question per call. If the attorneys don't know an answer, they aren't going to fake their way through it. The attorneys are going to tell you if they are unsure, and they are going to find the answer. As professionals, they have reference materials available, but might have to find the answers off air and then provide the information later in the show. If you hear us say that we should talk off the air, take the hint that there is something either too specific or too juicy to tie up the airwaves. They will get your contact information off air and follow up at a later date.
Okay, let's get rolling with those questions. Phone numbers again, 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit questions electronically. I have one here from Lee and Lewis, and it says, if a tenant is evicted from a 1-year lease, is that person responsible for the remains of the lease after evicted? Typically, yes. So what happens is if somebody is evicted, there's going to be a judgment that is going to be entered for unpaid rent. That is the reason that the person was evicted. Sometimes there will be a judgment that is entered for kind of the rest of the lease. In most cases, though, the landlord is really just interested in getting paid. Well, first of all, they want possession. And I've always told my clients, yes, it would be nice if you get the money, but the reality is you want possession of your place. And they're interested in the judgment for rent that has not been paid. But if they're able to re-rent it, then that would potentially excuse the person from the rest of the lease. So the answer is technically, yes, you could be responsible for the remainder of the lease, but in practicality, it tends to be just what you owed or what the person owed going into the summary possession. And I think that I have a caller, so let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
There we go. You're on the air. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Lee from Louis.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and my question is, I'm a landlord. I signed a 1-year lease with the tenant, and I have to evict her.
Yep.
Because she did not want to pay the rent. So my question is she still responsible for the remainder of the lease?
Right, and so technically, and this is residential, not commercial, correct?
No, it's just a
private residence. Yeah. So is it a commercial lease or a residential lease?
Residential.
Okay. So with a residential lease, I think you can make the argument that they're responsible for the remainder of the term, but in most cases, what I encourage landlords to do is get a judgment for what they owe you, and you can collect it all the way up and until when they are actually removed from the property, and you're going to get post-judgment interest, and it'll continue to accrue, but your goal is to get your property back so that you can rent it to somebody else. I mean, you can certainly ask the court for what are called prospective damages for the rest of the lease. But as a landlord, what I would be focused on is getting the judgment in place and getting the order from the court for what's called summary possession and getting the person out.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I sent a 5-day to quit notice to her, but there is no response from her. So at this point, what is the right thing to do?
Okay, so very good. You did the 5-day letter. And if there's no response, then at this point you can file it's called, it's a Form 1, and the number 1 at the JP court. You can file for a landlord-tenant action, and you have to include the 5-day letter. And basically, if you have a certificate or mailing or any kind of proof that you actually mailed it, they didn't have to sign for the letter, but you have to be able to show that you sent the letter. And they will schedule a court date in JP 17 here in Sussex County, which is over behind the Delaware State Troop 4. And if the tenant does not show up, you get what is called a default judgment. And they will give you an order that says that there's a default judgment. They have 5 days to appeal it. But if again there are no shows and nothing like that, then you can file for what's called a writ of possession, which takes another 10 days. I mean, so you want to go ahead and get this filed because it takes a little while to get through the process. And the fact that the person did not answer, I will tell you from experience, there are what I call professional tenants out there who know the game and know the timing. So this person will probably stay in the property until the very last minute, knowing that it's going to take at least another month. But you will be able to get a judgment for everything that you have not been paid, and can certainly ask for the remainder of the lease.
Okay. Do you have a lawyer to handle that for me?
I don't. What I would do is you can go to, if you go online, pick your search engine, the area of law that you're looking for is landlord-tenant. There are several here in Sussex County. I don't do landlord-tenant. But there are some that do. So if you just search landlord-tenant, you will find, and then there's a rating service called Avvo, AVVO, where you can see reviews if you want to look into a particular attorney a little bit more.
Oh, okay. So technically, I'm still able to collect all the rent till the end of the lease. Is that right?
Well, I mean, you can absolutely. I mean, it is a written lease, so yes, you can absolutely collect everything up through when you the eviction takes place. I believe you can also ask for the remainder of the lease. But typically it's not, people typically don't. That doesn't mean you can't. But it's, the theory is that you will be able to re-rent it. And so you would be able to mitigate your damages. As a landlord, you do have, you're supposed to mitigate what you can. So if you have the ability to re-rent it, then the tenant would not owe it because you're not damaged. So that's why people tend to not go for the remainder of the lease in a residential lease. A commercial lease is totally different, but in a residential one, they tend not to because they can re-rent it. And, if they're able to do that, then the tenant can actually kind of push back and say, hey, they got some of that money back, so I don't know it. It's a pain.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah. Thank you very much. I think I know what should I do now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate the question.
Have a good day.
You're very welcome. I know I have another couple callers, but hang tight for me for a second. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is The Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
88. In 2013.
Okay. So what happens typically is that you don't have to go back to 1988, but the value resets at the date of death of the person that you inherited it from. So if you inherited it in 2013, they're going to take a 2013 snapshot. And if there has been an increase in value between 2013 and when you sell it, capital gains could be owed on that difference. So it doesn't go all the way back to the beginning, but it does trigger to that date of death. I don't know. Okay,
all right. I'd heard something about that, and so all the other things that were done prior to his to the time he died, I didn't have to pay any tax on them because they were put in my name.
Well, and but the house was not.
It was not.
Yeah. I mean, so it is so there's no estate tax per se or inheritance tax, but
right.
Capital gains are just one of those kind of bugaboos that you get a step up in basis, but it's not till the time you sell it. It's unfortunately so for some people, if they sell the property relatively, I'm going to use the word quickly, after they inherit it, they don't have to hassle with capital gains. But yeah, with 11 years and depending on where it is, the condition. Now, if you've made any improvements to the house or done anything since 2013, you're going to be able to, claim that and deduct that, so that can help with any kind of gains.
Okay. All right. Wish I'd have been smarter. a long time ago.
Well,
so
it's
knowing that now.
I understand. Now, lessons learned. Yeah, unfortunately, and so but what I would say is, hopefully, it is still money that you are. You're not going to get quite as much of it. You may owe taxes on it, but there's still the price of the house, so you will get something out of it. You're just not going to get quite as much as you thought you might have.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. I appreciate the information.
All right. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day. Sure. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Julianne. This is Joan. I'm glad that you survived in your house, your neighbors, and Patrick, and our thoughts and prayers. Anyway, my question of the week is Eric Adams. Now, the hot topic is illegal immigration. He spoke out about it about a year ago. And you know how the DOJ works and the powers that be, et cetera, how real quick they went after Donald Trump, making it up as they go along. Do you believe that Eric Adams is guilty, or is it just convenient for them to throw him under the bus? And what do you think is going to happen in that regard? Because they can't just keep doing this to people. And I'm not saying he's innocent, but if they can go after him, we're next,
Well, it's a great question, and I don't know enough about the evidence. What I do know is that it's lawfare, and I absolutely believe that he is being targeted because he spoke out about how the administration is handling immigration. And and in fact, I said when he did it, I don't remember, not quite a year ago. Whenever he spoke out about it, I looked at Pat. Pat looked at me, and they're like, "Yeah, he's going down." And so what's good for us, okay, and what I mean by us is the people who say that we're whining about Trump and lawfare and that Trump's guilty of everything and that we just can't accept reality and all of the stuff that the talking heads are talking about. They've now gone after one of their own. Okay, Eric Adams is a New York City Democrat. And and he is, so for us this is good because he is out there saying they're coming after me because I spoke out about something. Heads up, everybody, and so unfortunately for him, guilt or innocence doesn't matter. I think that, on any given day, many people, unfortunately, politicians have skeletons or something that they could be charged for, and they just aren't. So if they decided they were going to target him, I'm sure they could find something. I don't know enough about the evidence. I've not read the indictment. But it is certainly suspect that he complains about immigration and says that they need help in New York because of the burden that it is putting on the system. And whoop, lo and behold, he's now indicted. And, and it looks, and of course the fact that it's the feds makes it even worse in terms of the whole kind of DOJ lawfare concept. So, it's good in terms of it's a Democrat that is facing this and, who is going to be crying foul and saying, I didn't do anything wrong and they're coming after me because I said something. That's good for people to see that, that are maybe think as it relates to Trump that it's all, that Trump really has done something wrong, that, when he keeps saying this whole lawfare thing, that it's not really true. Oh, yeah? Really? Because, look, they're doing it to a Democrat.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't bring up Russia again. Here we go again. But no such thing as coincidence in politics if it's meant to happen that way. And no honor among thieves, Julianne. You know that. And we're so glad that you are who you are and what you stand for, you and Patrick and the people that work with you and for you. And we're so very grateful because people like me, I can't get out there like I would love to do, but I can use my voice like other people can. And we just pray every day for you and our country and Trump. And
Joan, I appreciate that. In fact, well, here, you know what? It's funny. It's perfect timing, and I have a couple minutes before the bottom of the hour and don't have anybody else. So I'm going to keep you for a second because I got an email somebody sent to actually WGMD that forwarded it on to me that says, we have a question for Julianne Murray. Why does the Republican Party appear MIA in publications such as the Cape Gazette? Many Vote Democrat pages are published. Seems to us the Republican Party has given up. Where are you? I'm not going to give their name, but seriously, I read this and I was like,
Julianne, you're only one person. I mean, you're not God. You can't be everywhere. And like I said, you can only do what you can do. You're doing the best you can. You're a human being.
I am.
Like I said, I wish I could, but I try not to complain about certain things. I do what I can, and other people can, but they do nothing. You know, what can I say?
Yep. So, but thanks for the thanks, and
You're welcome.
it is we're all doing what we can. And and I absolutely do not think that the Republican Party has given up on anything. I think that we have actually been, have raised the visibility of the Republican Party in Delaware. The whole nation knows that Delaware has a Republican Party at this point. And and we are like our regions. Everybody is talking and about the possibility of Republicans actually winning seats this coming November. What's difficult?
What do you think of that decision Governor Carney made about assisted suicide? I got to give him a thumbs up for that.
It's interesting. I was surprised. I was very surprised, and I've not. I mean, my understanding of the Delaware Constitution is that if and I don't know when this bill was presented to him, but typically under the Delaware Constitution, the governor has to take action within 30 days of the end of the session to, and if he doesn't, then, the bills can actually become effective. So like, I thought that that's what he was going to do about legalization of marijuana, for instance.
Right.
So the timing of this, that, that he vetoed it in September, I was very surprised. And I don't know when it was presented to him, and it was, but I found myself going, wow, that's really late because the session ended the end of June. But go ahead.
I think his comment was that he's Catholic and he doesn't believe in it. Because a while back, I remember calling him about something. I said, remember, Governor Carney, you're Catholic, and you should be careful how you vote, etc. So, I don't know, maybe a lot more callers got to him that way, and he had time to think about it, because I know this is a hard topic to even think about and talk about abortion and certain people not being for Trump. That's bothersome, but you can't force somebody how to feel and think.
Right.
But we can at least plant that seed, Julianne, right?
Sure. And it's, I am, people who believe in God, whether it's Catholics, Christians, it is, assisted suicide is one of those issues that is, I was talking to a client about it yesterday and said the problem, I get the cons, in theory, wanting somebody to not suffer, and all of that. But the problem is it's a slippery slope that is going to get abused. And that's, and it is, we are, God chooses when we're coming and going. And, and so I was very surprised that he did that, particularly because he is a lame duck.
Thank you for the extra time, and God bless, and you take care, okay, Julie?
All right, thanks, Joan. Very much
You're
appreciate
welcome.
the call. No problem at all. And that was perfect timing. So I think that you are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. You know, I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. You know, I don't know if she would know runners and all about, but she listens very carefully and she researches and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. We are in our second half hour. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Bob. I'm calling from Sussex County, and I have a liability question.
Let's see what I can do with it.
Okay, all right. So I'm a member at a senior center, and we have a very nice parking lot that kids like to use off hours and on the weekends with skateboards or motorized vehicles of any kind. We don't want to be unfriendly neighbors, but we're concerned about our liability issues. As in, does signage get us out of any liability if someone were to get hurt on our property, or how's that work?
It's a good question. And so if they are trespassers, okay, then you have no liability. If you give them permission to be there, potentially you could open yourself up to it. The question is kind of being silent to it. You guys know that they're doing it, but you have not taken action. And I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just trying to kind of lay out, have not necessarily taken action to tell them they can't be there. Right. And if somebody's hurt, does that mean that you are are liable, and the question is, it would be a factual question that would have to be resolved in court. What I would do is post it with no trespassing. Just, because then, and they're going to ignore it. I think that we all know they'll probably ignore it. But at least if you've posted it with no trespassing or no after hours, I mean, something that is, because I'm trying to think about, because you don't want you don't want to dissuade, it's a senior center. You don't want to dissuade people from feeling like they can come on the property for the purpose of the senior center.
Yes.
Are there any
exactly that exact issue has been brought up at our board meetings, like whether we should put a fence around the property or just across the front, or if we even want to do that. Like I say, like you said, we don't want to be unfriendly to our members either.
Are there any activities there after dark?
Once in a while, we rent the building. In fact, you have been there before.
Okay.
For certain activities.
Okay.
But yes, on certain nights we rent the building. It could be weddings, could be different clubs or organizations come in and rent some space for us, just once in a while. But yes.
Okay. So then we can't put a sign that says, no admittance after dark or something like that. I mean, I think that you can put, no trespassing. And be okay with that, because it's not, a trespasser is a person who is not authorized to be there. And if you put the no trespassing up and get flack from members, then you can revisit it. I mean, I think you're probably okay, because I do think that the even without the no trespassing, if they are there after hours, they're using it for skateboarding and things like that. Yeah, it's a great location for that, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is to be a parking lot for the senior center, and that's its intended use. So if you've got somebody or kids who are coming in and doing it, they are going to, in my view, be presumed to be trespassing. Even without the no trespassing sign. I'm just saying that the warm and fuzzy of the no trespassing, if there were ever a situation where you guys got sued, you could say, hey, we've posted this. Absolutely, there's no question that they were trespassing.
Yeah. Okay. I think that helps a lot. As far as cameras, if we put cameras around the outside of the building, is there any issue with that? Any downside? Do we have to have a sign saying that we are filming or anything like that?
You do not. But if you do it, I actually would put a sign up, because it's another dissuader. But the fact, if you have visible cameras on, and believe me, the exterior cameras right now, Simply Safe, Ring, I mean, there's a bunch of them that are very inexpensive and really high quality that you could put up. But if they're visible in there, there's nothing that you have to do. But if you want to make sure that people know, hey, we're filming, you can just say premises monitored by video. And that's common everywhere at this point. I mean, but that would be another good move to make, because now they know they're being filmed. And so if you guys decided that you wanted to push the fact that they're trespassing, you could, and they now know that they're on film to do that.
Okay. So we were considering a fence across just the front of the property, but the kids, at least, are the ones that are coming in from the back of the property. We can't afford to put a fence all the way around the property and don't really want to. So a fence across the front may not even help us at all.
Yeah. I mean, if they're coming in from the rear, then that's, all the fence does is then you don't have unauthorized cars, but that's not the problem that you're having.
Yeah,
so
we are having that once in a while. People come on there and practice parallel parking and so forth. But
I did it myself many years ago when I was learning. You go find a church parking lot or a senior center one, and absolutely.
With our kids too, in a school parking lot. So, I get it. I totally get that. Yeah. Okay, we'll take this under advisement. We appreciate you and all you do.
Not a problem. Thanks, Bob. Have a great day. Take care. See you. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Mary from Fenwick.
Hey, Mary, how can I help you today?
Thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you.
My question has to do with the primary elections.
Okay.
my concern is I'm not sure how there could be a predicted outcome with accuracy when independents are not allowed to vote. And the reason that I say that is because there are many people that have left either party, but predictably the Republican Party, to become independent because of being disgusted with the Republican Party as far as the do-nothing that we see in Congress.
Okay. But what I'm missing in the question is the predicted results. I'm missing exactly what your question is about the primary.
Right. I'm wondering how you can predict with accuracy when the independents are not allowed to vote.
Okay. Well, and when we're talking about predicting with accuracy, you're talking about predicting the winner of the primary with accuracy?
Yes.
My guess is, because we have closed primaries here in Delaware, in terms of, the people that get to vote are people who are registered in that particular party. And so, I'm not aware specifically of, something that was predicted with accuracy. Like, I think what I'm trying to fill in here is I think what you're trying to say is, how do we know kind of the popularity of a candidate when you don't factor in the independents?
Exactly.
Okay, there we go. All right. So that's, and I think that, that is a wild card when you're heading between the primary and the general election. And I know, obviously, having run twice, what a big wild card it is. Now, there are databases. Independents tend to vote one way. Obviously, they're going to vote for a Democrat or vote for a Republican. They've gotten so good at data in terms of consumer choices and different things like that will show whether somebody is leaning one way or the other, meaning more liberal or more conservative. But for candidates, they absolutely have the challenge, and all candidates absolutely target the independents here in Delaware because it's such a large group. They just don't have to do it for the primary. They have to do it for the general. But the point is absolutely valid that when about a third of our electorate is quote unquote unaffiliated, knowing the popularity of a particular candidate in the general is, unless there's really excellent polling, which is super expensive and just doesn't happen much in Delaware, there is, the only way that you have a sense of how somebody is doing is, I'm going to use the word, the newsiness of them. I know that some people judge based on how many signs they see and things like that. If that's the case, I definitely won the 2020 election because I had a gazillion more signs than John Carney did. But, but it is, the primary is just designed to get that party's candidate. And then, the general election's wide open because now you got a third of the population that is now going to weigh in and they're going to make the difference one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was my, I've been wondering about that, and being independent, it's very frustrating to hear this prediction or that prediction. And, I would also say that, since the Republicans have been in charge of the House for almost a year, and we had high hopes with Mike Johnson, but have seen no results. It's just very frustrating, and that was reason enough for me to leave the Republican Party. One of the last Ukraine bills prior to this $8 billion was he was supposed to uphold doing something about the border. That did not happen. So this leaves you with the feeling that no one is listening to the people.
I get it, and I will. There are a lot of Republicans who have left the Republican Party and registered unaffiliated. Same with Democrats. And
yes.
As a party chair, when I'm confronted with this, and you're not unique in this, and I totally get it. Is that I encourage people to focus more locally. And again, I understand that, the animal that we're talking about here, politicians and whether they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and, and all of that stuff. But the reality is, and particularly here in Delaware, our House and Senate seats, not federal House and federal Senate, state House, state Senate, those seats are the most important election that we have as citizens, because that is who is making the policy and, that's affecting our day-to-day lives here in Delaware. So, so what I would suggest is, and I very much worry when I have people that are, I'm going to use the word, disgusted by, by what's happening nationally. Is I beg them, you have to still vote. And, and particularly in those state races, because they make such a difference in your quality of life and, and what's going on. I hear you about Mike Johnson for sure. But, this, we have a lot, this particular election for in Delaware. There is a supermajority lurking out there. If the Democrats win 2 more seats in the House, they can rewrite the Constitution and a governor. Nobody can stop that. We have skin in the game and absolutely have to encourage people to show up and vote for those House races.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much,
I appreciate
Julianne.
it, Mary. Thank you. All right, take care. I know I have another caller, but hang on for me. We've got to step away for a second. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is The Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, live in studio. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is me. It's Vanessa from Berlin, Maryland.
Hi, Vanessa. How can I help you today?
Hi, I've called before, and I just want to continue to thank you for what you do. My question is, it kind of goes in between politics and the whole rental property issue that's been discussed.
Okay.
I have a rental property. Am I allowed to put a political sign in my yard, the property that I own, that possibly the renter does not agree with?
Great
because
question.
I certainly didn't address it in the lease because I never thought to.
And that would be the question. So, and is the rental property in Maryland or Delaware? Just so I know.
Maryland.
Okay. I don't know that it makes a difference from a state law standpoint. All right. So tricky. Is it a single family home?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's in an HOA, so they have their own rules too.
Okay, which I was going to say. So that's you skipped right to it. So the HOA may have rules about it. All right. So you cannot, in my view. So like I had someone ask me the other day, said that their HOA doesn't allow political signs even inside the house in your window. And I was like, I need you to send me those because I don't agree, but I can see where they can make restrictions about what's in your yard, but I don't think they can get inside your house. And I would love to kind of push on that. But generally, when you are renting, you're renting the whole property. And so your tenant has the use uninterrupted by you. So just like if they put up a political sign that you didn't agree with, I don't think that you would have, unless you addressed it in your lease, it would be a specific covenant within the lease. I don't think you could go and tell them they have to take it down.
I wouldn't like that at all.
I understand. Well, I understand, but I'm just trying to kind of give the tenant side of it as well as the landlord side. On the landlord side, generally, when you are renting a residential, a single family home that has a lot, they're getting all of it, and I don't think that you could put a sign there that they disagree with.
All right. Thank you so much. I knew that you would know.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. God bless you. Bye.
All right, have a great day, Vanessa. But that's it's kind of an interesting concept and what might be different is if it's a townhome, if there's a common area, there are things like that potentially could make a difference. But generally, on a single family dwelling with a lot, you're renting the whole thing. Now, there are leases out there where, for instance, there's an outbuilding on the property that the tenant does not have access to. So, has access to the house and the yard, but there's a shed, for instance, that is carved out separately in the lease because it's where the owner keeps their stuff. Something like that, you could then potentially have signage or something on the part of the yard that is not being rented by the tenant. So interesting. And since we're kind of on the landlord-tenant topic right now, I want to, when Lee called at the beginning, I want to explain why I would say to somebody, a landlord, don't worry about the money, worry about possession. And I've had several landlords that look at me and they're like, yeah, but they owe me so-and-so. And my response to that is, but they're not paying it. They either don't have it or are choosing not to pay it. But if they don't have it, the fact that you're getting a judgment against them is, getting blood from a stone, and you can't do it. So yeah, go ahead and get the judgment. And if they have vehicles or something like that you can put a judgment against. So as a landlord, you can get a judgment. And then you can go to the DMV or do a filing at the DMV to find out if they have any vehicles. You can have the sheriff's office, constable's office do an inventory of the tenant's personal property or something like that. You can then get a judgment. You can force a sale of their personal property. But 9 times out of 10, the tenant who is not paying the rent doesn't have assets like that. There are some out there that know how to game the system. So, from a landlord perspective and a lawyer's perspective, what I'm saying to my landlord is get the paperwork right, because the landlord-tenant law is very technical in terms of what the contents of that 5-day notice have to say, the 5-day letter, that they have the opportunity to cure. You can't in Delaware just evict somebody. You can't in most states. You have to go through the legal process. You cannot engage in any kind of self-help. You can't go change the locks and do things like that. There is a process. It is called summary possession. It's the same as eviction, but here in Delaware we call it summary possession. If you're a landlord, what you want is your property back so that you can go rent it to somebody else. Or you want to stop the damage, for instance, that they're doing to the property. If you are successful in the summary possession action, then you can get a judgment for any of the damages that have happened, any of the shortage of rent. But it's all about getting that property back and getting them out of there. And, as I said to Lee, unfortunately, and, Pat and I dealt with this back in the day when we had a rental property up in Milford. There are people who know the system and they know the timing. They know that after the 5-day letter, that if the landlord immediately hops on it and files an action, say, on day 7, after that 5-day letter, that it's going to be another month maybe before they get the court date, and then after that there's the 5-day appeal period and 10 days for the writ of possession. So it's 2 months. They know that they can stretch it those 2 months, and they know they will get a notice after the default judgment that is entered by the landlord-tenant, by JP Court, that when the writ of possession, when the constable comes out to post the property with that writ of possession, at that point they know they have no way to undo it, and they know the timing, and at that point they tend to move out because they know that by that notice that the constable is going to show up and physically change the locks and get them out of the house. Very rarely does it go to all the way to that, but that right there is why deputies and constables are armed. Is that people don't tend to like to get kicked out of properties, but at the point, from a landlord's perspective, I want you to get the property back, and then you can re-rent it and move on from it. If you happen to be able to get the money, great. But there is a difference between residential and commercial leases, which is why I asked Lee that, and it's why I asked Vanessa, where is a single family residence, because commercial leases, contract law, totally different animal. And the ability to get a judgment and make collection for the rest of the term, because it tends to be a multi-year lease, totally different animal, totally different advice than residential. The landlord-tenant code here in Delaware is specific to residential renting, and if you are going to be a landlord, you absolutely need to make sure that you understand and read the landlord-tenant code. And technically, under the code, you have to give your tenants a copy of it. So you better make sure that you understand it, because they're going to understand it, and they're going to be able to. You want to make sure you understand what your rights and responsibilities are. So 1 hour down, you're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
All day, every day, with news, talk, and sports. Over 40 years strong. 92.7 WGMD, Rehoboth Beach, Ocean City.
Is dead. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. The leader of the Hezbollah militant group is killed in an Israeli attack. Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv.
This is a man who has been called one of the most dangerous terrorists in the entire world. The IDF says that he has the blood of thousands on his hands. He was a founding member of Hezbollah, and then he oversaw the group's integration into Lebanon's politics and Hezbollah's rise to becoming one of the most heavily armed non-state militias in the entire world. The IDF says Nasrallah was in an underground bunker meeting with Hezbollah's senior chain of command at the time of the strike. Shortly after it, Israel warned residents to evacuate nearby areas before taking out other Hezbollah command centers and weapons facilities.
Meantime, Israel's military is mobilizing more of its reserve soldiers. The number of dead rising as Helene unleashed catastrophic flooding across the southeast. At least 52 people have now been killed, their deaths connected to that storm in multiple states. Fox Weather's Chelsea Torres in Asheville, North Carolina.
There's power that's been out for thousands of people around here, and then you add in on top of that no cell service. County officials told us yesterday that they've already had over 130 water rescues. They've done nearly 600 evacuations, just getting people safe. First responders have been working around the clock. I saw several boats yesterday heading out just looking for somebody in a large Swannanoa River that really swallowed up a couple streets right in front of a playground. I was able to even see a lot of down trees, a lot of down power lines. But again, as of right now, there's no timeline for when the city water will be back on, when power will be back, or even when the cell service will be back for people to reach out to who they need to.
Initial estimates say the damage from the storm could top $15 billion. President Biden okaying federal disaster assistance by issuing an emergency declaration in Tennessee. America's listening to Fox News.
Another update from your local news source, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
After spending Friday morning in Pennsylvania, President Biden arrived in Rehoboth Beach just after 3:30 Friday afternoon. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the Talk of Delmarva. Because of the inclement weather, it was a motorcade ride down Route 1 to reach Rehoboth Beach. The President and First Lady will be in town until Sunday night, leaving around 8 p.m. However, while he is in town this morning, President Biden will deliver virtual remarks at the NABTU Tradeswomen Build Nations Conference. He will also be receiving regular updates on the latest developments at the Middle East and has urged all U.S. embassies in the region to take protective measures as appropriate. Crews and support personnel from Delmarva Power arrived in Georgia on Thursday to assist Georgia Power with expected impacts from Hurricane Helene as the storm moved through the south. Delmarva Power sent 32 line workers and 6 additional personnel from Fleet Safety and Supervision. Crews from sister Exelon Utilities, Pepco, and BGE also are in Georgia to assist. They are all part of a mutual assistance network that ensures power companies can help each other in times of need. A Dover man has been arrested on drug and traffic-related offenses following a traffic stop Tuesday in Felton. Felton police stopped the vehicle driven by 31-year-old Pierre Foreman of Dover for a traffic violation. Further investigation showed that Foreman had no insurance on the vehicle. A search of the vehicle turned up over 380 grams of suspected marijuana, and Foreman was arrested and charged with a variety of drug offenses. He was arraigned and released on a $9,500 unsecured bail. The 36th Seagull Century Bike Ride is taking place today throughout Wycomico, Worcester, and Somerset counties. The ride ends at Salisbury University, and all riders should be off the roads by about 5:30 this evening.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Mostly cloudy, breezy, and muggy all the way into the overnight. The low tonight at 65 to 69 degrees. For Sunday, mostly cloudy, breezy, and humid. Chance for a stray shower with a high 76 to 84. Monday, mostly cloudy, breezy, and humid. Maybe a couple of showers, and a high 71 to 76. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
The Paranormal Piranha is swimming into town for the annual Sea Witch Festival, October 25th through 27th. Popular activities include costume parade, indoor and outdoor vendor shows, kids games, live entertainment, costumes dog parade, and tons more. Don't miss live entertainment in the Rehoboth Beach Convention Center. Visit beach-fun.com for full schedule of activities or call the Rehoboth Beach Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce at 302-227-6446.
This is Mark Schaefer, your Sussex County Councilman, appealing for your help. Our volunteer fire and EMS companies are under tremendous strain. We need your financial help, and we need volunteers. This is a great opportunity for young people to volunteer as firefighters and EMTs. The fire departments will provide all of your training and equipment. Please Google your local fire department and inquire about this wonderful opportunity. Please also send your financial support. Your help is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. We are in our second hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit an electronic question. I think the board is actually clear at the moment, so go ahead and feel free to call in. In the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit. I was talking about landlord-tenant stuff last hour. This hour, I want to talk about the courts because I mentioned JP Court, Justice of the Peace Court, and for people who are new to Delaware and aren't clear on what the different courts do, the Justice of the Peace Court is what in other states would be called a small claims court. The jurisdictional limit is $25,000. And it has exclusive jurisdiction on summary possession. So landlord-tenant actions only happen in the Justice of the Peace Court. But in terms of other actions, there can be it's a court where you can represent yourself. You can be what's called pro se, and lots of people use it for breach of contract or trespass or things like that, where they just want to take somebody to court but don't have the ability to pay an attorney. JP Court is one that you can do. Lots of people do that pro se all the time. There's another court that's called the Court of Common Pleas, which is a jurisdictional limit of $75,000, but it has a civil component that for people who don't do stuff in the Justice of the Peace Court, but it also has a criminal component that handles misdemeanors and handles first and second DUIs. But I'm going to put a pin in that. It looks like I have a caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Bill. I'm from Fenwick Island.
Hey, Bill, how can I help you today?
I have a question for you. I have a home that I previously owned with my ex-wife, and when we were divorced, she retained 10% of the property, and now I have the title for the property, and the property is completely in my name. And I'm wondering, does that override any contract from the past?
Okay, so it's a great question. And let's go. All right, so when you say you have the title, you're talking about you have the deed, right?
The deed, yes. The deed, yes.
And the deed, so the 10% that you're talking about with your ex-wife, that was by, so that prior to that, was that part of a settlement agreement?
Correct.
Okay. Prior to that, did you and your wife own that piece of property together?
Yes.
All right. And did you own it as tenants by the entirety? Did you own it as a married couple or did you own it as another form of ownership? Do you know?
As a married couple.
Okay. So so this is unusual. Okay. So typically what happens is when you own a property together, tenants by the entireties as a married couple, when you get divorced, the tenancy by the entireties is severed. Okay. And it becomes what is called tenants in common. Okay. And you would each own 50% as tenants in common. When the settlement agreement was done, that she was going to retain 10%, which is unusual. Was there ever a quit claim deed or anything like that? How is the deed only in your name? Because there would have had to have
over to me.
Because there would have had to have been a deed, exactly, where it would have had the two of you, and there would either be a new deed that both of you signed to put it only in your name, or she signed what's called a quit claim deed, which just deeded her interest. When she signed the quit claim deed, it's very significant to look at it and see, did she sign all of her 50% interest, or did she sign over 40% and retain 10? So we got to go back and look at
none of that.
Go ahead.
None of that is mentioned in the deed, and she just signed over the house to me on the deed.
Okay, so probably if she signed over if she signed over the house to you on the deed and it shows you as the sole owner, then I would say that 10% isn't there. I have this 1% piece of me that is going, okay, did she sign a quit claim deed where she just signed over her interest to you? Did she sign her entire interest? Was there any kind of reservation there? The deed that you have that you're looking at, does it have both of you as the grantors and then you as the grantee? So the party of the first part, was it both of you and then you as the sole one?
That's correct.
If that's how it reads, if there is a deed where you have both of you are the grantors and you are listed as the grantee, and there is no language in there whatsoever where one of the grantors reserved a 10% ownership, then you own it 100%.
Okay. All right.
It would have to be overtly stated there. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Cool.
Thanks.
All right. You're welcome, Bill. Thanks. Okay, so that lots of different interesting stuff there in that. A good opportunity for me to kind of spell it out a little bit more. So when a married couple owns property together, they own it by what's called tenants by the entirety, where it's basically unseverable. You own it almost like one whole share, even though there's two people. When you get divorced, that tenancy is severed and becomes what's called tenants in common. Now, as part of a divorce settlement, it is not uncommon to have one spouse sign over their interest to the other one. And as part of a settlement agreement where, perhaps retirement assets or something else, there's a deal that's worked out between the two parties so that the one that's getting the house has to pay for whatever the value is for that with another asset of some sort. When that happens, there are two ways that a deed can be signed. The first is the spouses, both of them, are what are called the grantors. Both sign the deed, and it transfers it to the one spouse. That is typically a fully, like what would be called a warranty deed, fully conveys every bit of it from the two to the one. Okay. There can also be what is called a quit claim deed, which basically has no warranties to it, but it's basically from one person to another that says, I am giving you whatever my interest is to you. Okay. It doesn't typically spell out what that interest is. It just says, if there were two of us, I am giving you everything that is mine. And so in order to determine that the spouse that has the property has full ownership, it actually takes two pieces of the puzzle. It's going to take the first deed, which showed that they owned it together, and then the second deed, where the spouse that gave up their interest deeded theirs to the first spouse. Both of those pieces would be necessary in order to establish that the spouse that has the house has both pieces of the puzzle. So piece one coming from the original purchase where you owned it together, piece two coming from the quitclaim deed. So sometimes what spouses do when that happens, when you get that quitclaim deed, instead of having to have both of those deeds in order to quote unquote show that you own it 100%, you then do what's called a confirmatory deed from the one spouse, the one who now owns it. So in this case, we'll pick on Bill. Bill owns it 100%. Okay. If his spouse had quitclaimed it to him, he could do a confirmatory deed from himself to himself that recites in the what's called the being clause and says, hey, we bought this together. We got divorced. My spouse deeded this over, her interest in it over on its such and such book and such page. I'm now the 100% owner. That is how you kind of clean that up if you don't have a deed that just has your name on it. I know I've got a caller, but I have to step away for a second, so just hang on for me. We'll be right back. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, Assistant Manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can go online to industrynewsonline.com and put in an electronic question. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Roseanne and I'm calling from Bridgeville.
I know
Hi,
a Roseanne
Julianne.
that lives in Bridgeville. And I recognize the voice, so go ahead.
I'm sure you do. Question, I know you've answered this before, but it was a long time ago, and I haven't heard it recently.
Okay.
but the ability to steal the title of your home, I know that Sussex County put something in place where we can go and register our home somehow.
Yep.
But I also wanted to know how that works if your home is in a trust.
Great question. Okay, so in terms of, and I don't know, if you go to the Sussex County .gov and then go to the Recorder of Deeds, there's a menu option there where you can do that sign up, and and what the sign up does, just for people who aren't familiar with it, is if there is anything that is recorded against your tax map and parcel number, you would get a notification of it. So what happens with trusts is that the trustee is the only person that can technically convey the real estate. So when you start talking about fraudsters, they know that. Okay? And so because trust documents are not recorded, they don't know for sure who the trustee is. Now, they could still create a deed and, a fraudulent deed and just make up a name there. I mean, that can happen, but it's less likely. So, when the fraudsters are trying to do that, they're looking for something where there's a single owner, and they can just, again, it's a fraudulent deed that they signed to convey it to somebody else. In Delaware, the occurrence of this is much, much less likely because we have transfer tax, and the transfer tax on an arm's length transaction, meaning somebody that is not related to you, is 4%. And so when there's a deed where somebody is trying to convey it fraudulently to a third party, that the Recorder of Deeds is looking for that transfer tax. But I mean, there is no 100% cure-all for this, unfortunately. But with a trust, the incident is less likely because the trust document is not on record anywhere, and so they don't necessarily know who the trustee is.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have to go and apply to the Sussex County through their website to put a notification on, or should I do that anyway?
I would do it anyway, just because it doesn't cost you anything to do it. But for those who don't sign up for it, what I encourage you to do is when your property tax bill comes, and you probably have just done property taxes because they're due on Monday. Your tax bill, if your home is in a trust, will have your name, and it will say comma TTE after it for trustee. Okay. Right. If you got that tax bill and it has your name and TTE, no funny business has happened. It is still legally yours, and the tax records are correct, and no issue. You don't get your tax bill in August or something like that, then that's that can kind of be the hey, there might be an issue. Heads up.
Great. Thank you so much for the information. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. Always good to hear from you.
Take care.
All right, take care. See ya. So, so in terms of what we're talking about there, and I want to make a distinction of title insurance and title lock kind of insurance. Title insurance, when you buy a piece of property, if you have a lender involved, you are required to get lender's title insurance, and you're not required to get owner's title insurance, but most people do because there's such a break in price. Because if they're what's called simultaneously issued, it's basically the difference from a premium standpoint between the lender's policy, which is the amount of the loan, versus the sales price, which is what you're buying it for. But what title insurance does is even though we have public records, Recorder of Deeds, have chains of title and do title searches, they're not perfect. I mean, there are things that can be indexed incorrectly. There can be surprises, and what can happen, and it would be horrifying, is you buy a house, you have a mortgage on it, and somebody shows up and says, "Hey, I own the person who you bought this from didn't really own it. I do." Okay. And you're sitting there going, I went through, I did everything that I was supposed to do. All of this was done. How can this person come in and make this claim? What title insurance does is fixes that. Okay. And that's why lenders require it, because there's a mortgage and they have an interest. They need to make sure that they're getting paid. And the title insurance quiets the title. Okay, so if such a thing were to happen, if somebody were to show up at your house or send you a letter that says, hey, you don't really own this, I do because of so-and-so, not necessarily. What it may mean is that something wasn't handled the way that it was supposed to. And the biggest one that happens has to do with estates. Okay, so when in Delaware, when somebody dies, if you will your property to your children, both, say you have two kids, okay, my house goes to my son and my daughter, okay, when you do that under Delaware law, that conveyance happens at your death. They become co-owners. Okay, that can cause a gigantic fight, by the way, because they don't agree on what's supposed to happen with it. But you make that conveyance, it happens at your death. That means that if they want to sell that piece of property, both of them are co-owners. Both of them have to sign the listing agreement. Both of them have to sign the deed. Okay, so when the sale happens, it's actually your son and daughter that are selling the piece of property, not your estate. Even though they got it from you when you died, you would think that it would be the estate. It is not the estate that is selling it. So where people make this mistake is the executor, because it's passing through the estate, it's passing to your son and daughter through your estate. There are people that don't consult with an attorney. They go, okay, I'm the executor. It says here that I'm in charge of everything. I, the executor, am going to sign this listing agreement. I'm going to sign this deed, and I'm going to make this conveyance. If there is not a direction to sell in your will, the executor can't do that. Okay. And it's very specific. It says, I direct the sale of my real property. If you put that in your will, your executor can do it all day long. If you don't, your son and daughter both have to sign. So what I'm talking about from a title insurance standpoint is that if there was a conveyance in the chain 2 owners ago where the son and daughter both needed to sign that deed and only one of them did, there can be what's called a title claim, where the person, the son or the daughter who didn't sign it says, wait a minute, I didn't sign off on this. I wasn't okay with this sale. And that can be a problem. Title insurance cleans all of that up. Okay. And so title insurance is a one-time purchase that you make at the time that you buy the property. It's included in your closing costs. What the title lock kind of insurance is basically insurance for after the fact, you've taken ownership and there is a fraudulent conveyance that is done. Okay, so it's not like there was a legit claim there from somebody back in the title chain. This insurance is about having it fixed if some fraudster out there conveys your piece of property out from underneath you to somebody else. And what I tell people about this is, if you're going to buy this type of insurance, make sure you understand what you're buying. Is it just a notification service, in which case they're just letting you know that this has happened? It's not worth it. Use the free resources that like our Recorder of Deeds has that would notify you if something were to happen. If that insurance pays for fixing it, different animal. And so what I tell people all the time is it has to do with your risk tolerance. If you are going to lose sleep at night worried about the fact that some fraudster can come along, and incidentally, the reason this has much more of a incidence nationally now is because everything's electronic. You can go online and get copies of deeds. It's very easy. When they used to actually record them in books that you had to go to the Recorder of Deeds and get those copies, the incidence of this wasn't as high because people didn't do that. But because you can go online, or a fraudster can go online and can pull a deed, they can, and they can get the legal description, they can see what's happening there, and it is not required that an attorney prepare a deed. There are services out there that do it for you, because all of that is out there. It is possible that this can happen. So if this is something you're worried about, and then the insurance is worth it. This is true for any insurance. Yeah, the peace of mind may be worth it to you. So just, if not, then just, check in annually. So there's our title discussion. You are listening to 92.7, 98.5. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and but she listens very carefully, and she researches, and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
Famer Rod Woodson are on the call. Baltimore Ravens football, presented by the original Green Turtle in North Ocean City on WGMD's 92.7.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. We're in our last half hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Are you talking to me?
I am talking to you. You are on air. What's your name?
Oh, good afternoon, Miss Phil. This is Philip. How are you, Miss Instigator?
Yes, I am. I will own that. What's up, Philip? What are we doing?
Contemplating a marriage. I have properties. I have one biological child and two stepchildren. If, God forbid, I don't get an appointment at your office and I don't get my will done, what happens?
Okay, great question.
And one more thing. And I do get married.
Okay, so that was going to be question one. So right now, the property is in your name only, right?
Yes.
Not married yet. You have one biological child and the two stepchildren, not adopted. They're actually stepchildren.
Not adopted.
Okay. No will. If you are married, okay, and you are living in the property, and I didn't ask that, the property that we're talking about, are you living in it?
No, it will not be that property. It will be daughter's property.
Okay, so there's the difference. Okay, so under Delaware law, if it's the property you're living in, your spouse gets what's called a life estate, and but does not get an ownership right. Okay, and actually, I believe that the spouse would get a life estate in any real property. It doesn't mean that they would take advantage of it, but it's now you get a will. Okay. With a will, you can direct whether the life estate if you want to. So for instance, the house you're living in, you could say, my spouse is going to get a life estate in this piece of property that we're living in, but the one we're talking about here, where it's your daughter's, could pass directly by will to your daughter. But the difference in terms of legal right definitely makes a difference. Married or unmarried. Unmarried, no claim at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah. Which one other thing? Now my biological child.
Yep.
I can add them to the deed. And that would eliminate any kind of issues, correct?
100% yes. So and if you do that, the biological child, two things to keep in mind. When you do this, your biological child is now a co-owner. So if you decide to sell the property, your biological child has to sign off on it.
Yep.
And if your biological child has any creditor issues, you potentially open it up. Unlikely, but I always warn it.
Yes.
But yeah, with joint tenancy, then what happens is it's a jointly held piece of property. You die, it 100% goes to your biological kid.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought. I believe I've heard that question and stuff before. Secondly, the stepchildren.
Yep.
Do they have any claim to anything?
No.
That's kind of what I thought. I've done some things to accommodate them. But, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. You only have the office down south there in Sussex County, correct?
I have one in Dover. And yep. And it's what's really funny is my partner Ron, uses it, and somebody contacted me about a real estate settlement, and I asked if we were going to do it in my Milford office, and they're like, no, we're doing it in the Dover office, and I was like, oh yeah, I have a Dover office. So we do. I have a small office in Dover, and then I have one in Milford. So where are you coming from?
Well, I'm west of Dover.
Okay. So yeah, just reach out if you want to, and I can do Dover appointments.
And I know you're kind of not supposed to, but can I get a name of that office so I can call the right persons?
Oh, a name in my office. Her name is Pam. My assistant. Yeah.
Well,
my
no. I mean, what's the name of the office? Like to practice or whatever. Or...
Oh, okay. All right. It's the Murray, Phillips, and Gay.
That's it, Phillips. And I should remember that name, but I don't.
Well, but the most important one in there is Murray.
Well, we kind of figured that, seeing how they lead the title there.
Well, and I tell people all the time, I was like, I am the queen. It was mine first, because I started out as Murray Law. But we are 3 equal partners. I actually like both of my partners, but yes, so I am the Murray.
Yeah. That's good. And just a side note, if you don't mind, I like what you're doing with the Republican Party. You're knocking it out of the park.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
you take care. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend.
All right. Thanks, Philip. Take care.
Thanks again.
Have a great day. All right. See ya. All right. Let's go back to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Pat from Harrington.
Hey, Pat. How can I help you?
Yeah, I'm your husband from another mother, I guess. But no, just
oh, dear
kidding.
God. One is enough.
So, one's enough. Yeah. Would you rather be patted or would you rather be whatever?
Yeah.
No, you were talking title insurance a little bit ago. And if you're buying a house, I strongly encourage that as the buyer, you get your own title insurance at the time of close, as well as the mortgage lender. And the reason being is my brother, and this is about 20 years ago, he'd been living in a house, for about 10 years. And him and his wife, selling it, they're going to move out of state. And they went to closing, and the buying attorney showed up and said, you don't have a clear title. And there was something wrong with the original title search. And the title insurance company had to put them up in a hotel for about 30 days, all expenses paid, pay their food and stuff. So I encourage people to make sure they got good title insurance when they buy and sell homes.
Well, I appreciate that. And, and I am very, honest with people. I mean, so in Delaware, attorneys have to preside over closings, and we are licensed to issue title insurance. So, I mean, and it is, so I actually have an insurance license through the Department of Insurance and through a title insurance, like I'm an agent of a title insurance company. Some attorneys have multiple title insurance company or are agents for multiples. I'm not on purpose. But some people, I was talking to somebody yesterday who didn't want title insurance on something, and I was like, all right, and he said, well, can you give me 5 examples of when title insurance has been used? And I said, no. I said, but I can tell you that when you need it, you need it. And it is a one-time fee that is paid. It's based on the value of the house or the price of the house, and it's just kind of sucked into your closing costs. But so I do appreciate you coming in and saying that you have a real live example of it working. With all insurance, we hope we never have to use it. But if you have to use it or you need it, you want it there. And and I think that title insurance is one of those things that it's a one-time deal. And for the entire time that you own the house, it's there. And so I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, but what happened with them is when they were doing the deed search.
Yep.
Yeah, there was something that burped on the property limits. It was a 150-year-old house, and that's where you get kind of antsy, and that's where you better be looking at that stuff.
Well, and I will say this, because people who are not familiar with the process, you are going to get a title search done, whether you buy title insurance or not. But the title search can only find, it is as good as what is found in the records. And and the if there's something in the past, I mean, so like when I get a title search, there's a report, but you have to actually go through. I mean, like I look at these handwritten deeds from 65, 70 years ago. They're there. Yeah, and if there is something in there that is not, and the people who do title searches, I mean, this is what they do, and they really look for this stuff and know what they're looking for. But those hiccups do exist. And the example I was giving earlier was it tends to most commonly be associated with an estate, something not passing the way that it's supposed to. But sure, it can happen. And the other thing that can happen is an old loan is not closed out. That has to be cleared up when you go to close.
Now, what if there's an old lien, someone's got an old lien against a property that's like 20 years old?
Depends how old it is.
Can they, pardon?
It depends how old the lien is, and whether it was of record. 20 years is a magic number, ironically. But what happens, and this is not a title insurance issue per se, but when you were talking about your brother going to closing, what can happen is in a title search, it can pop that there's an old mortgage from an owner or two ago that has not been satisfied. And that is a pain because you've got to get it, because the new buyer needs to take this free of encumbrances, and the mortgage does not just go away at a change of ownership. It has to be satisfied. So, I mean, I've had to go back to get a mortgage satisfied from the 90s that was never closed out. It can happen.
Okay.
But I'm getting the sign. If you want to hang on, you can. But I've got to. I'm at my last quarter hour. I got to pop away for a second. Feel free to hang on.
No, you've been very helpful and very good.
Not a problem, Pat. You have a great day. Thank you. Caller that's on hold, hang on for me. I will be back in just a moment. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, Assistant Manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD. and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, we got about 10 minutes to go. I got a couple callers to get to. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
Yes, my name is Terry, and I'm calling from Salisbury.
Hi, how can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. Could you tell me, at the time of divorce, the life insurance policies that we have on each other, are they null and void, or will she be able to collect that if something happens to me, vice versa?
Great question, and the answer is they are not null and void. So you absolutely, if you get divorced, have to contact the insurance company and change the beneficiary to somebody other than your spouse. People forget to do this all the time, and unfortunately die, and their ex has a payday. It happens. So no, it's not null and void. You have to actually contact the insurance company and do a change.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care, Terry. Appreciate the call. Okay, let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Pat from Lewis. I have a question on voter registration.
Go for it.
Do you have to show any type of proof of citizenship to be able to register to vote, whether it's online, at the DMV? Do you have to show birth certificate, passport, anything?
Great question. And the answer is it depends where you register. So at the DMV, if you do a voter registration there, it then goes to the Department of Elections, and the Department of Elections determines whether you're a citizen or not. So from the DMV's perspective, if you have an ID that has the star on it, you've established that you're a citizen, and so a U.S. citizen, and so therefore no issue on the voter registration. If there's a circle up at the top that is, or there's no star, not a citizen, in which case the Department of Elections is going to be looking for proof of citizenship.
Very good. And what about online? Well, I saw when I looked online was a box that checked that said I am a citizen.
And I honestly do not know about the online. I believe that, that even if somebody were to, so there are databases that the Department of Elections checks for citizenship. And I don't have the names in front of me, but I pushed back with the Commissioner of Elections when the AVR stuff started, the automatic voter registration, about how the heck do we know,
right,
who's registering, and he gave me the names of the databases. So I believe that just like with the AVR, the Department of Elections does a verification. With the online, you can check off that you are a citizen, but I believe that there is a verification that is done at the Department of Elections end of things that checks that.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that, because when I saw that box, I thought, boy, how easy it is to register.
No doubt. No doubt.
I had to give more proof for my daughter to go on to Little League.
No doubt. Well, and I mean, it is. I mean, I have seen the memes that are out in terms of you have to show your ID to buy cigarettes, you have to show your ID to do all of these things, but you don't have to show your ID to vote.
Yeah.
It's, something is definitely turned upside down on that.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you
All right,
for
thanks,
your
Pat.
answer.
All right, not a problem.
All right,
Have a great
bye-bye.
day. All right, let's go back to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? Caller, are you there?
This is Nan.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, I'm here. Did you say your name is Nan?
Yeah, Nan from Millsboro.
How can I help you?
Thanks for all you do, Julianne.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
I just have an issue. Several months ago, I was at the hospital getting ready to have a test done, and in the meantime, an ambulance service was breaking down my front door. Busting in my storm door and inside door, because they said that my medical alert went off. Do I have any recourse? Because I contacted the manager of the ambulance service, and I got no reply. He said he would look into it, and I haven't heard anything from him.
Now,
they
I've
left no note. They didn't call me. When I came home and I saw the door like that, I called 911 before I came in, because I thought someone broke in, and they said no, it was the ambulance service.
I've not had to deal with this, but where I would start is with the alert service, whoever it is, that if there is anything in the contract with the alert service that by the fact that you are signing up for that you are, I'm going to use the word agreeing for lack of a better word, that if there's an alert, they are going to use whatever means, because they're going to assume that you're unconscious or that something has happened, and that it would be justified to break in to the house.
Right.
That's where so it's not so much the ambulance service is doing what they were dispatched to do. I would say that the contracting party, so whoever the service is, going to that kind of contract and seeing, you may have unknowingly sort of signed away that right. By signing up for it, there could be small print somewhere that says, like I said, basically by signing up for this, you agree that if there's an alert and the ambulance is discharged, is dispatched, they can, they're going to get into your house. I just don't know, but that would be my guess. Is there's language somewhere that says that?
Right.
What I'm curious about though is you said you were at the hospital. Did you have the alert on, because I don't know how was the alert on your body with you at the hospital, or was it at home?
No, it was at the hospital. It was around my neck, because at the time that they said it went off, I was just sitting in a chair filling out paperwork.
Interesting.
Before I had the test done. So there's no way that the button got pushed.
I think that if there's any kind of recourse, I think it's with the alert company, because, for two reasons. One is it didn't get pushed because it was on you. So false alarm, what happens with that? And then two, it didn't dispatch to where you were. I mean, the whole point of the alert is that it's where you are, so that if you've fallen and can't get up in a park somewhere, they come to where you are, not your house. So, right. So there's definitely something that, did not work the way that it should have with the alert company. That's where I think you may have some recourse, just because it was on you. It wasn't pushed. So, basically checking with them and saying, pushing and saying, do you guys get false positives? I was at the hospital and it was on me. How did this happen? And and push to see if there's any way that you can get reimbursed for it. Because I imagine if they, and I, by the way, kudos to you for calling 911. I would have done exactly the same. If I come home and my front door's busted open, I'm not going in there. Yes. Yeah. But they did, for an exterior door to be busted open like that. That's expensive to repair.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much. And I'll check with the company.
Okay, do that. And thanks for the call. I very much appreciate it. Okay, so a couple different things here. We had a bunch of different things. One of the things that I want to say that I did when Terry called from Salisbury and asked about life insurance and if you get divorced, does that nullify it? And I said, no, it doesn't. It's very important. So unlike tenancy, where we're talking about deeds that things get severed, owning it married changes to tenants in common. Things like bank accounts, anything that has joint owners does not automatically get severed. You have to physically go do that. And life insurance happens to be one of those things that doesn't automatically happen. Pensions are a different animal. So, and many times with a pension, depending on how many years you've been married, you may not be able to take your ex off. That may be something that is getting kind of negotiated. So thanks for everybody that called in. Tipping the Scales of Justice, Julianne Murray. We'll see you next week. This is 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
The Peninsula's heritage hometown station for over 40 years.